Welcome to the Developing Dads podcast, episode number 38. Like Gordon's in stitches. He loves my intros.
You'd think he'd be prepared after 38 episodes, but you look like a rabbit caught in a set of headlights again, Neil.
Yeah, you might have thought I'd get the confidence, but I'm feeling it today.
Does it hit you pretty hard when we decide to do a podcast? You're like, oh crap! Actually, I'm going to do this thing.
Yeah, it's just our listenership as well. I've got thousands of listeners now.
Thousands, yeah. Of course we do.
Too much.
Of course we've got thousands.
Anyway, the podcast where you hear Gordon and I delve into topics all about dad life and how we're developing as dads. Gordon's looking very confused.
Oh, I'm just in awe of your introduction here, Neil. I feel enamored by and so excited because last podcast we did, you were so tired that your really exciting Coldplay thing came across very unexciting.
Yes, I'm feeling I've got a lot more energy just now. I had one of those. I was explaining this to my colleague actually, today, where I run pretty hard for a few months. So like, I don't know, get up at 5:30 in the morning, go for my runs, do like 30 miles a week. Got 3 kids, got a wife. Like I need to keep them all happy. I got friends and stuff. Last night I went to bed at 7:30 with the children, and it was great. So yeah,
why are you getting up at 5:30?
Because my day, the kids start at 6:30. So if I want to run, then I need to wake up at 5:30.
But why can't someone else look after the kids for say half an hour?
We take my short runs are an hour, Gordon.
My short runs are an hour. Oh God! All right then.
Anyway, how has your week been, Gordon? This is Wednesday evening, and it's probably been about a week since we last spoke. So how's it been?
Oh, we're going straight in, are we? Is that what we're doing? Well,
yeah.
The week, I can't even remember the last time we spoke, but the week's been fine, I guess. I went to some football last night, watched a Fulham game. They won 2-1 at home to Brighton, which is great. They're now 6th in the league, which is a European place, which apparently is big for the fans, which is kind of good. I'm really enjoying actually going to the football. We go either midweek or we've got another game to go to on Saturday, where it's Tottenham. So I've been a fan of football, but never really had like a team to support. And now I'm kind of being adopted into it by David and his dad Alan and his son Jack. So my grandparents and parents and brothers-in-law. So we're all Fulham supporters now, which is kind of good fun.
Nice.
We've just been kind of getting the house sorted for sort of DIY stuff that you'd think builders would do, but they don't. So we've had to take control of some of that, which might be connecting pipes or some other nonsense that's going on. And we also discovered on the house front, while I'm having a good moan about it, the plumber obviously did all the plumbing for downstairs, where you've got your tap and another pipe thing you'd pull off and a radiator and all that kind of stuff. Now you'd think that before finishing the job he'd make sure that the boiler actually goes on, but it didn't go on, obviously. And his retort to me saying, why is the boiler not going on? He said, I didn't touch the boiler. I'm like, okay, we didn't touch the boiler, but you still installed radiators. You'd think that you'd double check to make sure the radiators work, the ones that you installed, right? You'd think that, but nah, of course he didn't. Of course he didn't. Like, why would you do that? Why would you check? Why would you check to make sure the thing that you've installed actually works?
Wow.
So anyway, we had to get a friend round who's an electrician, and kind of former electrician, I guess, and decided he helped us out by basically fixing it and plugging in our boiler rather than it being connected to sort of the mains. It's connected by a plug, which works perfectly fine. Like, it's a low voltage thing, which is fine. So that's that sorted. And we got a Nest installation as well, which is kind of cool. So we got that set up, which you don't have to do much, to be honest. Some guy comes round and plugs it all in for you, and charges you 90 quid or whatever it is, as per usual. Everything's £90 or above. It's never a tenner.
Yeah.
Cleaned the front garden, so that's nice and neat and tidy. It doesn't look like we actually live in a terrible state house now. It looks actually like someone lives here. And I'm trying to think if there's anything other than that that was exciting. I went to a barbecue at the weekend with a bunch of friends. Some of Laura's friends are now starting to turn 30, which is mildly depressing for me because I'm 35, and to think that they've just come out of their 20s, we'll see. But they've got more kids than me. She's got 2 kids, so they're quite interesting little characters, and they're actually boys as well. Where I have a little girl, and I don't know if it was if you found this, Neil, but obviously the anatomy is different, right? So what you wipe and how you wipe and what happens and what goes on is just, it's quite a bit different to having a girl. So I don't know if you had a bit of a scare or a jump from going from having a girl, which kind of just, makes a puddle, versus, a thing that's basically a projectile spout.
Yeah, there's definitely moments where it hits you in the shirt or I haven't quite got the face yet, but there's been friends who've had the face. But I think it's even more interesting when they're starting to grow up a little bit and get their independence and want to use the toilet themselves and want to pee like daddy pees. And they've got no concept of like how to hold it or how to aim it. I think the first time, I won't name who did it, but one of the boys held his thing so hard that it became a balloon. And then he let it go and it just came poof, spurting out everywhere. But yeah, I mean,
you didn't have to actually give a sound effect and a visual representation of what happened. You could have just said he held the end of his willy, and you can guess what happened after that.
Yes. Anyway, but now they're 4 years old. It's very handy because if they're desperate for the toilet, they can go behind a tree, and
Excellent.
It's so much easier than having a daughter that can't do that.
Excellent. So that's that was quite an interesting thing because she's got 2 boys. So I was watching her. I was kind of like, how do you cope with like different types of anatomy, I guess? But she's got 2 boys, so she doesn't know any different. And I'm honestly trying to think of what else I did. I can't actually remember. It obviously wasn't that exciting, any part of it whatsoever. So
is that moment though, like if you've got a friend listening or or Laura's listening and you forgot there's a massive thing?
Probably. Like we didn't get engaged, we'd already done that. We didn't get married, already done that. I didn't have a kid, already did that. I didn't miss anyone's birthday, I don't think. I've planned Laura's birthday, so it's the end of next month. But honestly, apart from that, I genuinely can't think of what happened. I think my brain's a bit dead actually, because recording this on a Wednesday, and Wednesdays are daddy daycare day. So I take Olivia, and it's weird. Your brain just goes into absolute mush because you're just making goo goo gaga noises, and carrying, like walking her around, and she'll like get you to pick her up, and she'll just point to stuff, and you just end up walking around the house looking at inanimate objects. Like
you start talking to yourself and talking to her.
Yeah, and she's not like why don't you just eat the fish pie that I made for you? For God's sake, just eat the fish pie. Oh, you don't want the fish pie, right? It's going to have to go in the bin. So we have to do the toast and some peanut butter and then whatever else that comes with it. So I think today, I've just had my brain's just in pieces. So I'd love to hear how your week's been, Neil. I really would. I hope it's more exciting. I hope it was more exciting than your intro.
Yeah, I'll try and make it enthusiastic. On the Friday, I went out with a fellow dad who, interestingly, he wants to listen to this podcast, but he thinks it'll be a bit weird because it's like he's listening in to me and you chatting in like a bar or a restaurant, so he's not too sure. But yeah,
how do we make it unweird, Neil? Do you want me to put my clothes back on, or like?
Anyway, so I went to the pub with him. It's about a 20-minute walk, but we decided to cycle and had a nice meal, and then ended up getting back at like 1:30 in the morning. So it was quite a heavy night. A few pints were consumed, a few whiskies were drunken, and then on the Saturday I had a really exciting day. So a couple of weeks ago.
Hold on. You went out, got absolutely battered, and what time did you wake up?
6.
So you woke up 4.5 hours later, still battered.
Yeah, and then packed my bags to do what I'm about to tell you.
Oh my word! Okay, carry on.
I just live a rock and roll lifestyle, Gordon.
It sounds like I'm the one who's living in London, living the high life, and my little brother is just on the jolly the whole time. Yeah.
So a couple of weeks ago, James Watt, infamous James Watt from BrewDog, CEO founder, emailed all the shareholders asking if they wanted to come for a mountain bike ride with him to see the Lost Forest and plant some trees, drink some beer and have some food. It sounded like a pretty awesome agenda. So I put my name down. Not sure how many people applied, but 50 people got through to the day. And yes, arrived there on Saturday. So the Lost Forest, for anybody that doesn't know, is a 97,000 acre bit of land that BrewDog purchased just outside Aviemore in Scotland, and their plan is to plant over 1 million trees in this forest. So they've done 2 years. They bought it 2 years ago. They've done 2 years of surveys, excavation, and figuring out which things to plant, which trees to plant.
So hold on, you can't just plant trees. You can't just go along and just stick some trees in the ground.
No, this is and the BBC actually. So the BBC made a big documentary about James Watt, kind of making him sound really bad and a horrible person, yada yada yada. And they also brought up that the fact that he hasn't planted one tree in 2 years and made a big deal about it. But the Scottish Woodland Trust was there to basically tell us why he hasn't planted a tree. And you need to apply for planning permission, Gordon, to plant some trees.
What?
Yeah.
Is it because suddenly trees are dangerous?
I think the cause, the reason is that it could impact the natural habitat. So they had to do a survey of all the animals, how many golden eagles there are in the 97,000 acres, how many deer.
Hold the phone. How many, what creatures are impacted by having a tree?
Yeah, but you're talking about 1 million trees.
Aye, in 97,000 acres. It's not like you've just suddenly covered 97,000 acres with just entirely of trees, is it?
Yeah, I get you. But anyway, so they've got planning permission for 10,000 acres of tree planting, and that's where we started. But it's taken them 2 years to get that.
So a tenth of the space they've got to
It took 2 years.
They're allowed to plant 10,000 trees. Isn't there basically Greenpeace just running around going, we need to save the planet?
This is mad.
And it's taken 2 years to get planning permission to plant trees in 1/10 of the nearly 1 million acres or 100,000 acres of land. That blows my mind.
I mean, it's justifying jobs probably at the local council. There's probably a tree planning department.
So yeah, there's probably a tree planting expert for Aviemore. And then any other district that's going, there's probably a job. They're probably on strike, actually, Neil. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, that'd be it.
What? This is some revelation in the Developing Dads podcast, Neil, about the fact that planting trees needs, first of all, planning permission, but it also takes 2 years to be able to plant any trees that you actually want to in your own space that you bought and you want to do it. It sounds a bit like, actually, the incident where I found out that if you've got a pipe, like a water pipe or a sewage pipe or whatever else going through your land, it's my responsibility, right? So it's on my land, I own it. I've got to make sure that bit of that pipe is maintained by me. Now, I can't just dig it up and fix it. I've got to contact the water company, who then will come out and then fix the pipe for you, but then charge you for that. But you're like, well, where's the competition in that? Because I own the pipe, not you, but they have to. It's just some of these things they drive me nuts. If I want to plant a tree, Neil, do I need planning permission to plant a tree in my garden?
If it's projected to go over a certain height, then definitely.
Oh, I'll just plan for my tree to only be 6 foot tall. What?
Yeah, it's mad.
Anyway, okay, so you're cycling in this 2-year planning permission forest.
We arrive in the morning. I think it starts about 11:30, greeted by some really nice local food, hot sausage rolls and pies and stuff, and of course beer, because it's BrewDog. And James did a bit of an intro in terms of what they're doing at the Lost Forest, and then the Scottish Woodland Trust kind of did their bit about the 2-year planning permission and the surveys they've done and all that. And then we took off on our mountain bikes. So I said there's about 50 people and all walks of life. So we're talking people in their 60s with the biggest beer bellies you've ever seen on their probably 30-year-old mountain bike, to me, who's relatively fit on a pretty decent mountain bike, to the guys that are extreme on full face helmets and stuff like that. And BrewDog didn't release any kind of information on what the trail would be like. They just said a 2.5 hour cycle, plant some trees, come back, have some beer and barbecue. So anyway, as we're approaching the first hill, It got really, really steep. And I'm talking like, I don't know if anyone's listening that has climbed a Monroe, but you're kind of up Monroe height. You're going up pretty vertical on a mountain bike, and it gets steeper and steeper and steeper, and people start to drop off. So people are like in the bike ride, I can't do this. I need to go back. So
Wow.
And give James Watt, give him his due. He's pretty fit. So everyone knows my running story and stuff. So I would probably, I'm in the kind of top 10% probably of fitness in the group. I'm near the front with James Watt and a few other people on e-bikes, might I add. I wasn't on my e-bike. And yeah, so out of the 50 people, 25 of us, so 50% of us got to the tree planting area. It was 900 meters up, which is a lot. And there's a support vehicle and stuff, and like there's water, and there's like support medics and Land Rovers. So it was safe. Like BrewDog did put in a lot of good safety measures, but just people couldn't hack it. So 25 went back down the hill. 25 made it to the tree planting area, and out of that 25, probably 50% of those had e-bikes. So 12 of us had mountain bikes. And anyway, we got there. We got to see where James Watt was staying for the next 2 weeks. So he's kind of commandeered a mountain bothy, which for those who don't know is like think of it as a shed, which is wind and watertight, but no electricity, no running water. And he had his key because he owns the land, obviously. He opened it up for us to have a look around, and as you can imagine, there's like hundreds of cans of BrewDog Punk IPA. And he also got somebody to take up a king-size mattress and a duvet to put in this mountain bothy. But yeah, like...
what were you going to do? You're just all going to sleep in the same bed as him and lie under the duvet?
No, but I just think it was quite funny. Like he was making a big play that he's sleeping in this mountain bothy for the next 2 weeks, and you expect it in like a sleeping bag and a blow-up mattress or something.
Why? Why is he making a point about that? Is he just going to live off BrewDog and cycle around the forest drunk and then sleep?
I just think it's a thing he's trying to play where there's no signal. He's taking like a technology break. He's planting 20 trees a day.
Sounds like some hippie shit CEO thing that, you've basically completed life because you've got £1 billion in the bank, and you're like, what can I do? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to California and take this, or Mexico or something, and take this Ushuaia, whatever called thing.
Bitten by that frog that makes you hallucinate.
Yeah, and this is probably the closest thing that Scotland's got is basically BrewDog and a bothy in the middle of a forest that's not even built because it's just got planning permission.
Yeah, so he showed us round, and is
James now just cleansing himself of his sins? Is that what he's doing?
I don't know, but he's quite an awkward guy. So like I was chatting to him for quite a long time, cycling up this hill and like roundabout and stuff. And we'll get to the story of how I saved his life in a second. But he's quite like an awkward character. He's very kind of confident when he's speaking to a group of people. But see, when you have him on one-to-one, he doesn't engage. He's like
really
a couple of word answers and doesn't really ask questions back.
He did say on the Stephen Bartlett podcast that he thinks he's got autism.
Yeah, like there's just something, he can't hold a conversation.
Interesting.
But he's very good at presenting.
Yeah, so you can learn that though, I guess. And you're kind of vulnerable when you're on a one-to-one situation, right? You can't just follow a script or a recipe, if in effect, because that's what he's doing right when he's doing a presentation. Yeah. Whereas, when you're in a one-to-one position, you have to deal with a dynamic set of tasks where you're like, you're trying to work out, how someone takes your humor, to how close and personal people like to be with you in terms of where you sit and stand, to micro cues of whether or not you're actually funny or you're not funny, versus even topics and tone and language and all that kind of stuff. So
he doesn't know who anybody is. So like he doesn't know if I'm a secret journalist undercover that's trying to ask questions or prize out stuff.
Yeah, so but why would that's the beauty of like small talk is you can test your audience, right? You can be like, this kid seems really interested in me. You'd be like, hey, do you work for the Daily Mail or the BBC? And that would be a funny conversation, right? You'd be like, nah, I'm just a project manager with 3 kids and I'm really tired all the time and I've got a podcast and that's it, really.
Yeah, he doesn't, like I made a joke about his king-size bed in his bothy. Did not take me on.
Really? As in, what was your joke?
It was awkward.
Tell us your joke. Come on.
Well, I just he opened the key to the door. I walked past him into his bothy, and then I laughed at his bed, came back out, and I was like, didn't expect you to have a king size bed in there. And he just didn't react. Like there's no kind of take me on or.
Didn't expect you to have a king size bed in it. What were you hoping he was going to say?
I don't know. Just a bit of a challenge back, or a bit of a yeah.
Oh, like a bit of banter, like, oh, yeah, the hot tub's at the other side.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Like, what do you expect me to sleep on for 2 weeks?
Are you sure you weren't the weirdo in these two conversations?
No, I'm definitely sure. Anyway, let's get back to my story. So, planted some trees. I was one of the first in the Lost Forest to plant some trees, which is quite cool. I've never planted trees before, but yeah, it was interesting.
What a day for you, Neil. Basically, they got you to cycle up to a space so you didn't cause any carbon footprint. And then they got you to basically do some manual labour for free. Yeah.
There's a few jokes about that somebody from the BBC will probably pick up on this and write about James Watt using free labour to plant some trees.
And it's okay as well because you don't look 12.
Yeah, exactly.
It's it. He's smoked it.
Anyway, so we're coming back down this 900 meter mountain that we'd cycled up, and I was behind James, maybe about 2 meters behind him. We're about 10 minutes away from the base of where we started. Got about 30 miles an hour down this fire road, like rubble track, and James Watt comes flying off his bike. And thankfully we're all having helmets on, but yeah, 30 mile an hour crash. I saw it all in slow motion. I saw him kind of lose control a bit, couldn't regain it, and then just came flying off into a ditch and was completely out cold.
He knocked himself out?
Yeah.
Oh my word.
Came to after, I don't know, less than 5 minutes, so it wasn't like a long-term blackout, but he was very dazed, blood gushing down his face, and it was just me and him in the forest.
Hold on, start again. So you're cycling through the forest, just you and James Watt?
Going downhill, yeah.
Going downhill. How steep's this hill?
Fast enough to go 30 mile an hour.
So you're going full pelt down this hill?
Yeah.
Right. And is it rocky? Is there tree? Obviously there's no trees because they don't plan permission for trees. But it's just it's just like, is
there's
it a track?
Trees in this part. We're like at a lowland bit, and yeah, there's
trees,
rubble.
lowland. Is it a bit rocky? Are there jumps? Is it kind of a proper mountain biking track?
No jumps, just rocky.
Right, so you're bombing it down the hill just behind him, and James Watt basically slams it.
Yeah, like, just like, I think, I don't know, you probably know this, when you can lose control of your handlebars.
Right.
Trying to regain control is very hard. Especially,
yeah. Yeah, you're coming off.
Yeah. So he had no choice.
Wow. Right, so he comes off, smashes his head, knocks himself out.
Yeah.
And it's just you and him. Where's everybody else gone?
So some were in front, didn't see it. Some were coming behind us. So eventually they caught up as he was decked on the ground. But anyway, I kind of got him sorted. Another person turned up, and we walked him down for about 10, 15 minutes till the medic Land Rover came to come and pick him up. But it was, he was totally spaced out. He didn't really know what had happened. Very, very sore shoulder. So I'll go into a bit more of a story when we get to it. But the interesting thing is, he asked for somebody's phone to record a video to show what happened.
Eh?
Yeah.
Like, well, his first instinct was, have you got a phone?
Good for marketing.
Wow. That's interesting. So where did you put it? Is it got
I didn't volunteer my phone. I wasn't quick enough, but somebody did, and said, yeah, take my phone. So he recorded like a little selfie thing saying, oh, we've taken 50 equity punks through the forest and I've fallen off my bike. And
wow. Wow.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I listened to his podcast and Stephen Bartlett's thing, and yeah, I think I mentioned it before. I think it was a artistry in PR management, basically, just trying to make it look all kind of good and whatever else. And fair enough, but I think you're also hiding quite a lot of stuff that's gone on, like, yeah, basically.
He used the words, it would be good for marketing. So he spent like, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes taking a video selfie of what happened, showing him his head.
Wow.
Yeah, so the medic van came, picked him up, took his bike away, and he got taken to hospital. X-ray,
it's
double
kind of
breaking the collarbone.
Yeah, so he's basically he's just absolutely killed himself.
Surgery tomorrow.
Oh my word! It's kind of interesting as well. Like he clearly thinks that he is the poster boy of the brand. If he really wants to take like a selfie and whatever else of what he's doing, you know, he's really trying to be. Because I couldn't have seen Steve Jobs doing that or Bill Gates doing that.
No.
Or Mark Zuckerberg doing that. You know, so it's kind of that's a weird one. So that was it then. After that, you just got some beers and you had to go home. Was it? Yeah.
So I'll go into a bit more detail, but I'm just going to, for those watching on the YouTubes, James is a serial poster on social media, especially on LinkedIn. For some reason, he favors that over everything else. But he posted this picture, you might be able to see it, of like his broken collarbone.
Oh, wow.
And then like these kind of photos of him shirtless with the kind of scars and blood coming down his face. And,
oh, what a warrior.
But then he's planting trees. So it's just, it's a bit weird.
Boo-hoo me.
Yeah. So.
All right, that was that.
Yeah, he got taken away. We had a really nice barbecue and then got to fill our boot with BrewDog beer. So I walked home with about 60 cans.
Wow, look at you. Nice work, Neil.
Which is nice. So anyway, yeah, that was my Saturday. Really nice day. And then the rest of the week, the start of this week, it's been pretty chilled. I can now reveal, since it's on LinkedIn and it's official, that I was promoted last week. Way.
That's some good shit, Neil.
Yeah, a bit of a promotion, which is nice. So I've got senior consultant in my title, which, I guess so where the organisation wants to go is we're hiring now for my previous role for a few of them to come under me and to work on bigger clients, bigger projects.
Boom. That's some good work, because I'm sure I can say this transparently, but you can basically shake your head if I say anything I'm not allowed to say. But I was worried when you took this job specifically because of the fact that it was a startup, and I didn't take my usual bullish approach of don't do it. I was just kind of like, do you think this is a good idea? X, Y, and Z. And I was a bit worried about it because, you are the breadwinner, right? Rebecca doesn't work. She doesn't earn money, right, to be able to pay for your mortgage and things. Which that's not a criticism of Rebecca. She's doing other things that are, in fact, probably vastly more important. But unfortunately, they just don't pay dividends in terms of cash.
Yeah.
So I was worried when you said you wanted to do it, but then now, you clearly had the vision. You worked on the actions that were required of that vision and went after it. And here we are, like senior consultant. It's fantastic. Like it's absolutely brilliant.
No, it's great news. And so
I eat my hat, like, Well, Neil, after some technical difficulties on the episode number 38, I think we're still on episode number 38, we're now going to basically restart the second half of this podcast. For those that are listening, we got through half of it where Neil was talking about how he was saving James Watt's life from his collarbone accident, and we've got more updates to that. In fact, I think down the line, I think in the next episode, number 39, we'll go through some of the things that came from that. But anyway, I won't introduce this again because we've already done that. But we are trying to cover that last half hour of this podcast with actually what we came here for, Neil. And we came here for a random dad chat. And it's Sunday evening. We're also trying to push ourselves to make sure that we stick to our Monday morning 7 a.m. upload. And I want to be here, but I wouldn't be lying if I'd rather just sit on the sofa and enjoy my fat belly with the Sunday roast that I had that was cooked by Denise. But yeah, so the kind of the tail end aspects of this, or basically some of the things that we're just going to get into, and we normally take notes on these things, or we just take notes before we sort of start our podcast. But one of the things that I was really interested in, Neil, is this idea that I've never really set goals. I've never really sat down and gone, I want to achieve X by X time. They've kind of been these things where I'm like, oh, that'd be really cool. That'd be quite a fun thing to do, or that'd be a nice way to go about things. Because by having a very set target, you tend to sort of focus on that rather than the actual processes that you're going through. So I don't know how you think about that, but have you ever sort of set yourself like a target where you're like, I got to hit this, or have you just kind of been like, oh, that would be cool, but actually you make sure that you nail the day to day, or you nail the process fundamentally of getting there?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always been, I say always, in the last 5 years or so, I've always set New Year's resolutions in the kind of category of goals. So this year I'm working towards running 1,000 miles. And every day I remind myself that I need to run that 1,000 miles for the year. And I work towards that by obviously running. In terms of like career goals and stuff, like I want to earn X amount by this, or I want to make X amount by this, never really set those kind of goals. It's always been like fitness related, like pushing myself physically.
Yeah, but you set the target of like 1,000 miles, right? Which is the quantitative goal.
Yeah.
But do you then work out, well, I've got to do this I've got to do like this amount of stuff, or I've got to get up and go and do the thing? Because if you're just like, oh yeah, because I guess it's not so much like 1,000 miles. It's like if you were to turn around and say, I want to be rich, or I want a 6-pack, or I want to be a marathon runner. You know, they're not very specific, like 1,000 miles, but they do require like a specific action for you to go about doing that. So I guess you're kind of like, well, yeah, I'd like to be in this position at some time in my life, but you're clearly taking the steps to do that because you got your promotion, right? You announced that in the podcast. So, did you specifically think I want to be a senior consultant, or did you just go, oh, I'd like to be, I don't know, a senior aspect of this in the management team or whatever else, but actually you're focusing on doing a bloody good job each and every single day consistently.
Yeah, I think
those are your goals, rather than it being something like, some rogue, I want to be king.
I think you're right. It's my goals is to turn up every day, smash every day, say yes to most things, never turn down an opportunity. And I guess that kind of materializes into the bigger goal of getting a promotion, getting a pay rise, and that kind of thing.
It's because it's a side effect, right? Rather than it being the actual, it's that adage of you enjoy the journey rather than the destination. And rather than focusing on the outcome, but actually just focusing on being in there and doing it, that then ends up being some weird side effect of actually achieving a goal. And that's why I think I've always liked having dreams rather than like set targets and goals, because you're never really disappointed by dreams. Are you? You're like, they're just, I always thought it would be nice to make money taking pictures and making videos. It was never a case of, I want to be a photographer or I want to be a videographer. It kind of just happened that I really, really enjoyed the process of taking pictures and making videos. And that's then transformed into me now making a living taking pictures and making videos. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
no, I do get it. And on the other extreme side, you get people that set these crazy goals, whether it's to make £1 million in revenue for the year, or I don't know, to retire when they're 35 or something like this. And yeah, I don't know if that's for me.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think that's too. I never want to be held by that. For example, like a long-term goal for me would be to retire when I'm 55. But I just think that'd be nice. And it's also, I don't look at it as retiring. Maybe some people will be like, oh yeah, I just want to stop working. Like I'll probably still work. But it's more like, oh, that'd be really nice. 55, living the dream, kind of walking the dog along a beach. Kids are grown up. That they're settled in school or university or whatever else.
Yeah,
but if I don't get there, I'm not overly bothered. But I'm thinking then, okay, well, I need to make sure I'm saving X amount, or I need to make sure that I'm making investments that are returning about a certain amount of money. I need to be thinking about what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis to build a business, all those kind of things. And those actions essentially are the side effect of the nice thing.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean if you break it down. And today, actually, I looked at, so I've got this year, 1,000 miles I want to do. And tonight I was like, should I go for a run? Should I not go for a run? I'm a bit behind my target. So I was meant to be averaging, I think, 15 miles a week. I now need to average 20 miles a week to get my 1,000 mile goal.
Oh, that's. By the way, I have some news from Johnny Jacobs, one of my very close friends. He says you need to just sign up for a bloody ultramarathon and get it done. He's like, every podcast you talk about it. You just kind of you have a talk about it, but You need to just sign up for one and get it done.
Yeah, I know. And that'll easily get me to my 1,000-mile goal. But
Exactly.
yeah, like breaking it down to how much you need to do that week is quite a good thing to. And like if I just focus on that week, I'll get closer to the end of the year, and I'll reach my 1,000 miles.
Yeah, because it's also like if you set a target of saying I want to be rich, and even if you set like a number to that, I want £10 million. It seems so far away from where you are now. But if you sat down and said, okay, right, if I need 10 million quid, right, what do I need to do? Well, to make I think it's if you to make £100,000 a year, you need to earn £300 a day, give or take, something like that. Right? And that's 10 customers at £30. Or one customer at £300.
Yeah, it's breaking it down to the small, manageable chunks to make.
That makes it easier. But I was just having a pondering. Like I was watching a YouTube video and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I've never actually set goals for myself necessarily. Like kind of I've got to do this. I've got to do that. Whereas I've actually just gone, that'd be quite nice. That'd be a cool thing to do. And then it's because it's come off the back of me just enjoying something and then ultimately obsessing over it, and then it becomes a job, I guess, which is, something like that. But yeah. You went into the idea of, like, we were discussing kind of time away and whatnot. So what was that all about?
Yeah, so in the notes I kind of raised that, and I went away with obviously that BrewDog cycle thing, which we kind of caught up in the episode earlier, which was just nice to do something different. And I was a bit nervous. I was meant to go with a friend. He pulled out because he was really sick. And I was like, should I just go? Should I go myself? Should I just man up? So what was that? What's that like? Because a lot of people like to do stuff with people, right? They'll go to the cinema with someone. They like to go to dinner with someone, or to go on activities with someone. Tours or whatever else, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I like going to things with Laura. But do you like doing things on your own, or are you just kind of like, whatever, I'll just do it? Yeah, I mean, I was definitely, there's a part of me saying, should I pull out and just stay home and not do it? And I think it's that like nervousness. Like, I think I may come across as a confident young man, but deep down there's kind of anxiousness around it. And yeah, am I going to be the only one on my own and blah, blah. But it turns out,
doesn't everyone have that though, Neil? You're not the only one.
I think they do. But when I got there, the majority of people were on their own, which is great. And then Rebecca and I went away Friday night to a gig, which we haven't been to together for a long time, into Glasgow, stayed the night, went for some nice food. And yeah, it's just a reminder that in this busy life we lead as dads, it's so important to just make some time and get away together, because it definitely kind of re-baselines things. Is that too much of a technical term? But I don't know, it just refreshes things.
Re-baselines is not a technical term. I'm not even sure if you said it right. It's gonna like bring it back
to the project management world, Gordon.
Bring it back to what things are, what life's all about.
Exactly. Because you do get lost in it all, and yeah, I mean, it was just great. And like, I find, especially my mood kind of goes up and down quite drastically with kids when the kids are around, but it's very mellow when it's just me and Rebecca.
It's because kids do that deal. Like Olivia today, this morning, she was absolutely fantastic, like lovely, adorable, cute, the whole morning thing at 6 o'clock or whatever time of the morning, when they're just, babies are the best things ever. But this afternoon, absolute devil child. She was a psycho. Genuinely, if you'd assessed her, she'd have like bipolar issues and some, psychotic tendencies. So I can see how that can rub off on you, right? Where it's just like, oh my God, what are you doing to me? And you just end up, you're tired and you just want to shout at someone and do whatever else. And I find it really hard to keep my cool in front of, to Rebecca as well. So it's not Rebecca's fault. Like, Rebecca's not to blame, but I find it very hard to not just react to her. And yeah, it's because we've only got a certain amount of, I feel like I've got a certain amount of, like, I've got a glass like this. I don't know if you're watching on YouTube, but this is like my full container, for example, of patience and whatever else that comes with it. And then slowly as the day goes on, depending on how much socialization I've had to do or how much kid stuff I've had to do or whatever, or, the more this sort of slowly drops. But also if I've had a bad night's sleep or I'm a bit hungover or any of these number of things, this bottle starts at certain levels. And ultimately, if it's, half empty already, it's not looking good. So I think that the whole like, you know, doing something on your own or going away, especially on your own, whereas you'll certainly feel guilty. I don't disagree, you know, because you want to support your partner and do what you need to do. But I think I personally come back even an hour on my own. You know, if I go for a walk or I go to the gym or I just sit upstairs and just chill out for a bit, I come back much better.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree.
You know, and doing something for yourselves. And then also the relationship thing, right? I think Olivia's now at the point where you get past that kind of crappy newborn stage where it's amazing at the same time as it's just bloody like that is also poles apart, right? It's you get these amazing moments at the same time it's just also the depths of hell at some points. And yeah, I find that once she's past that point, we get so much more. Like we don't have her tonight. You know, she's up at Gramps and Nana's, you know, and she'll be there tonight and tomorrow night. And that's just nice, right? It's just the two of us. We can just be a couple for a bit. Unfortunately, I'm working Monday and Tuesday all day. I've got a busy week ahead of me. But yeah, you know what I mean? That's kind of, I like it. And we've got something planned for Laura's birthday, which will just be the two of us. We'll be away, and again, it will be just us. And I think that's what makes it better as well, because when you were young and unencumbered, you could probably take that for granted, slightly just going out for dinner with each other. Whereas now, they are pretty special moments, right? Just the two of you.
Yeah, and it's quite easy to forget it. And a year might go by, or 6 months might go by, and things might be a bit rocky. But it's probably because you've not prioritized and not given yourself time together.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was just a thing that I reflected on. Recently, I've had time on my own, which has been amazing. The BrewDog thing, meeting strangers, having chats with people I don't know, never met in my life, and then having quality time with Rebecca over the weekend.
Mate, sick. This is a podcast that we've done previously. We talked about sort of social media, and we've talked about quite a lot actually with kids and all that kind of thing. And there's a podcast that I listen to that talks about the sort of the creator economy. So it's called Colin and Samir. It's a very interesting listen. You're not really in that world, Neil, but it might be something.
I've seen their YouTube videos. The YouTube videos
okay.
are really good.
So yeah, they've got some stuff on like Mr. Beast and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they had Mr. Beast's manager on, which I found really interesting. So it was kind of fascinating to hear how to build a YouTube business rather than it just being a YouTube channel, and also how sponsorships work and his sort of view on everything after the past 10 years of him growing up in the industry and becoming basically a big force to be reckoned with. And there's two types of media that I see. Well, there's three types kind of. There's the short, quick, fast stuff that we're going through at the moment with Reels and TikTok. So it's kind of like that swipe culture thing, right? Then we've got maybe like a Facebook post, which people don't really do, or an Instagram post where there's a caption and it's a bit slower, and you know, you basically kind of read it, and it's an active consumption rather than passive, where you're just kind of not reading anything or doing anything, you're just watching it. So there's then the third one, which is like a YouTube video, right? And those YouTube videos can range from anything from 6 minutes up to an hour. So you get these video podcasts, we upload it onto it. And it's much longer, drawn out type of content. Now, there's something called VidCon in America, where all these like YouTubers and TikTokers and Instagrams all come together, right? And people like fans can go and meet these people. They can meet these people that make this content, and they've got millions and millions of subscribers. Now, you've got TikTokers that have got, 50 million subscribers, 20 million subscribers. You've got YouTubers that have got 100 million subscribers, all that kind of stuff. And the really fascinating thing was that YouTubers had hordes of fans. Like, they were describing it as kind of like Beatle-esque levels of fans. Wow. There was like just hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people going to see these YouTubers. But the TikTokers, the TikTok people that make this swipeable content, basically no one was turning up to them.
Wow. That's super interesting.
It is. I find that really interesting because, when you go through Reels and you get stuck into that, cavern of crap that you're just kind of doing. I'm not on TikTok. I should be. I should work it out, but I just can't. I can't do it.
I see it as like 16-year-old girls doing dances to songs.
There is that, but you're also surrounded by 7-year-old girls dancing to songs. So. Because Neil's a dad, obviously, he doesn't just like hang out with 7-year-old girls doing TikTok dances. But it is that, and it's this. But it's not just like dancing girls, for example. It's very low level, 30-second, very fast content. Like some people are getting shot because they were like trying to do a prank or something on a TikTok thing to get views. And then I think one of them died. Like, it's all that kind of crap, right? And people getting injured and stuff like that. But they're also it's just nonsense. But it's not just the fact that it's nonsense. It's also the fact that it's just swipeable, right? If you don't want it, it's gone. Don't want it, gone. No one's buying into the person who's making that content. They're just buying into the content that's in front of them because there's so much of it. Whereas on the opposite side of that is that YouTube, because it's such a long format type of content, you're building a relationship with your audience. And often, like, there's a book, I can't remember the author's name, but it's called 1,000 True Fans, where we're just talking about, make 100 grand, it's like £300 a day or whatever else. But he talks about it in this book where it's kind of, you only need 1,000 true fans who want to buy your product, at £10 a month or at £100 a go or whatever else. You don't need 100,000, 100 million, 10 million, like whatever number. But you need to have built that community, right? You need to have built that buy-in from the audience. And TikTok is just not doing that. So I'm curious. I'm just really curious about where you should be investing your time, as a content creator, maybe a future one like we talked about before, putting kids on the internet in our last episode. Should you be learning how TikTok works, which is quite important in terms of the retention aspect of it. But then should you be really considering, if you want to make a long-term career out of this, should you be actually learning how to make good YouTube videos and long format YouTube videos rather than this? Yeah, this just horrible, and I feel bad after it. I don't know how you feel. Like, I don't know if you ever sort of sit on Instagram a bit and end up in that.
The reels, yeah.
Oh, God, it's awful.
It's mad. And I think, YouTube is tried and tested. And what I find fascinating is there's still people, there's the OGs of YouTube, which off the top of my head, Casey Neistat's one of them, but there's a few others like SNS. Anyway, there's lots of OGs out there that have done it and made it and now gone quiet, but there's still people making it. So there's a chap called Arak, which I followed for a while, and he had this mission to get to 1 million subscribers in a year. And now I looked at it, and now he's almost at 10 million, and that's just 2 years. And then you've got Mr. Beast, who's at 100 million subscribers, and that's in a short space of time. So I think, YouTube is tried and tested. It's still working. People are still making it. And as you say, it's growing the relationship. TikTok is just, and it's interesting. I wonder what advertisers think about it, because you see on Instagram, like, I've got 1 million or 2 million followers on TikTok, but does advertisers even care about that anymore?
I'm not sure. It's a bit of a wild west at the moment where you will get paid, obviously, for TikTok integrations and stuff like that. But I just feel like, from a long-term business perspective, that YouTube is the way to go, really. If it's because also it's a broad audience from really young generations up to, I was watching Laura's dad basically using YouTube, which I found really, really interesting, because he was kind of like, he wanted to research like a car thing, and the way he did it was he looked for a guy that was about his age.
Wow.
To watch the video. He wasn't like watching someone my age or someone your age or someone younger reviewing these cars. He was basically just like watching someone that was roughly the same age as him. So it spans everything, right? And who doesn't go on YouTube to search for content to be able to fix something? Even, again, Laura's dad goes on YouTube and finds how to fix something. My builder goes on something and try to fix something and he's like 60.
Yeah, it's mad. I think YouTube's going to be one of the longest. It's kind of a social network, but I can see, I don't know, 10, 15 years time, Facebook dying out, Instagram might die out, TikTok might die out, but I feel YouTube's a bit of a staple in terms of content. And
I think you're right. And, just the whole social media aspect, I was kind of thinking about this idea of, are we going to go in some happy medium where, this, I don't feel good going through Reels. I know I wouldn't feel good on TikTok if I was kind of consuming that content. I feel bad. I don't feel like I'm rested. I don't feel recuperated. I don't feel inspired either, to be perfectly honest. But when I read a book, when I maybe read an article, when I take, like, I've got a 35mm photography camera, even when I take pictures on that, I feel way more inspired, because there's kind of like this weird surprise in 2 or 3 months' time when I get them scanned and they come through and we all sit and look at them and they're amazing and whatever else. There's something about this delayed sense of gratification that seems to work for human beings. I think it's not healthy to just get everything and anything like kind of thrown at you really, really quickly and cheaply, and even free for that matter. Like, you don't have to work for that product. If you think about the fact that we can drive to McDonald's, go to the drive-through and eat 2,000 calories, and you feel pretty bad after it. But I don't know a time where I felt bad when I've gone to Tesco's, bought the raw ingredients, come home, chopped them all up, taken an hour to make them, or it's maybe my 6-hour thing that I'll do my green egg. I don't come out of that feeling bad, even though the calories might be the same. Maybe not, I don't know. I just feel like there's something going on here where the TikTok and social, like that type of thing, is just going to be regulated. Maybe, I don't know, like monster drinks are.
Yeah,
you 16-year-olds.
You kind of hope they're going to be, because as a dad, I am very concerned about the fast pace of everything, even Netflix, Amazon TV and stuff like. I think I mentioned this in a few podcasts, but YouTube is banned in our house from a kid's point of view, because A, there's a lot of shit on it, and B, it's that kind of fast form content of now YouTube. You've got, I don't know what to call them, maybe not reels, but something similar to reels, and kids are just flying through them. But one thing I like, if we were ever in a toy shop or in a Tesco or anything, and the kids want a toy, I'm not going to buy you a toy, but I'll buy you any book you want. So let's go to the bookshelf. And yeah, like there's probably books I've wasted money on that I've maybe read once or twice, but Isla's now stuck into a really interesting book, which is almost like an adult book. It's like, a few centimeters thick, not many pictures in it, lots of writing. She's learning to read, but she wants us to read it to her. But I kind of want to preserve that, to stop that instant gratification of, a toy, I can play with a toy. No, let's get stuck into a book. Let's find a story. I'll buy you a book, any book you want, but you're not getting a toy.
That's fair. It's fair enough. I mean, obviously you're drawing a hard line there, Neil. The poor kid just wants a little toy, right? And Daddy's making me read a book about, quantitative easing.
Yeah. But I don't know. There's definitely a line to be drawn in terms of that fast-paced media, and even Amazon's to a point. Like, Isla knows now that I can order something tonight, and it will come tomorrow.
Oh wow, that's bad.
Yeah.
Because it's remember, I can't really remember ordering anything online back when we were kids. Not in Bulkraxi, no, certainly not. But I do remember going shopping on a Saturday or a Sunday was like a thing. It was like an event, wasn't it? It was like, we're going to go shopping into Aberdeen on Saturday.
Yeah, make a list.
You make a list and you go out and you drag around the shops and you do your thing, and we'd go for lunch, and then it'd be like a day out for the family basically. But now it's just not, is it? You can just be like sat on your sofa watching YouTube and flicking through TikTok and order whatever you want, and it'll be there on your doorstep either that day or tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it's good and bad at the same time.
Which, to be fair, when you're as incompetent as I am and forget to buy the nappies at Tesco's, it is an absolute godsend.
They're coming tomorrow.
They are coming tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
but
saying that, we were in we went to Livingston, which has got a big kind of designer outlet mall place and loads of shop and stuff, and went out for dinner, just me and the kids and Rebecca. And I mean, we're in the shopping mall for about 12 till 6. So that's the longest we've been. I know. There's like a free soft play and stuff there, so that burned some time. Did a bit of shopping for the kids and stuff, and went out for food, and that was a really nice experience. So I don't know where I'm going with that, but it was nice.
Basically, you're just harping back to the old days where you got a bit of peace and quiet.
Yeah, but like also like before, when we used to go out for meals, it was so stressful. And like the kids would just play up, and it would just be like, and we're one of those families who try to the bitter end not to give screens. And before it's been horrendous, but now I think they're getting a bit older. They're playing a bit better together. It was a really pleasant meal. We didn't need screens, but yeah, they just all got on. They all ate their food. They all just sat there and behaved.
So what did you think you did? If you analyse the situation, did you have to negotiate with anyone? Did they choose where they went? Like, how was it?
Well, I think they're just getting older. And I think I live by this saying where every day passes, it's going to get easier when you're in the kind of baby stage, toddler stage, tantrum stage. Like,
if I just get through one more day, I'll be okay. Wow,
Exactly.
what a life you're living. You know.
And yeah, this meal that we had out was great. There was no tantrums. There was no embarrassing moments. It was just plain sailing.
There you go, Neil. If that now in your 31 years you've been on this planet, if that's now your big wins, that's something else. I'm impressed. You had one. You were talking about You mentioned something in your notes about like long-term goals and loosing. Like
Loosing.
I had to make sure Neil understood the difference between loose and lose. So Neil's been long-term goals and losing motivation. What the heck does that mean?
Yeah, so it kind of comes back to my ultra marathon and 1,000 miles in a year. And that's obviously a very long-term goal. I mean, I set those goals at the start of this year. I wanted to complete an ultra marathon, wanted to complete 1,000 miles. And yeah, just the past month, I've just been in a rut where I haven't, like every run I've done has been a slog. Every run, it's just been, I couldn't be arsed getting up in the morning. I still did them. Like, so there must be a little bit of motivation there, but it just felt like such a chore and that you're questioning why you're doing it and stuff like that. And like, I haven't actually found a reason of why I've gotten back on track, but I guess it was an observation of like, not everyone's always motivated. So the people you're watching on Instagram, the people you're watching on YouTube, they might be living this fantastic lifestyle, but there's definitely lulls.
Nah, mate. They just wake up like on the top of the world, ready to go. You know, they've already completed their 1,000 miles, Neil.
And there's this guy called Nick Bear. I don't know if you've heard of him. Yeah. I mean, he makes some really good YouTube videos, and like I've been following him for, I don't know, since he was like a 1,000 subscriber YouTuber. Now he's almost at 1 million. But anyway, he recently had a baby, and maybe I think she's 7 weeks. Actually, I was listening to his podcast when I was on my run tonight. She's 7 weeks old, and his podcast was about the questions he gets asked, or it was a Q&A, and he got loads of questions like, how do you stay motivated? You always like post your highlight reel, and he kind of had a bit of a confirmation, or put his hand up and said, yeah, I always post my highlight reel, but things aren't good. Like, we're not sleeping at night, and like things are rocky and stuff like that. So yeah, it was quite a nice thing to hear him say that, because you see on his Instagram that like, yeah, he's pushing his baby at 5 a.m, but then he's going for a 20-mile run the next day. Like, yeah, he's not in a good place just now, and he needs to get back on track.
But then presenting that highlight reel is almost motivating to some extent for yourself. Like, you're like, oh, I've got to get up and make content. I've got to go and do something. And sure, like, okay, whatever. You don't want to be some content factory and machine behind it, all that kind of thing. But at the same time, it's motivating. You know, if you've set a target and you've told people you're going to do it, like, Neil, you've got to finish these 1,000 miles. You told it, you know, the 2.5 listeners on the podcast that you're going to be doing it. So, got to get up and create that content or run those miles, you know, and that's kind of part of it. Yeah, like, I don't mind that kind of thing, like the highlight reel stuff. You know, I get it. You know, I don't watch it and think that these people are perfect or that they are capable of doing everything and anything that they say. But equally, sometimes I find it pretty motivating that they're so consistent. You know, they said they're going to do something and they turn up and do it. Right? That's motivating for me to be like, you know, if I'm going to say I'm going to do something, then even if it is shit and days I don't want to do it, there's someone else doing this. Like, someone else digging the holes and doing the thing, and you know, whatever crap they're going through, they're still going to push forward. They're not kind of thinking in the back of their head, oh, you know what, I can stay in bed, or maybe I won't do this thing that I said I would do. Yeah, I don't know.
It's an interesting question I'm going to table is, so I kind of go, if you look at my Instagram usage over this year, it's been like up and down, up and down. Sometimes I post all my runs, sometimes I post some of my runs, sometimes I just post nothing and just kind of, blank. And the reason I go blank and the reason I stop posting things is because I feel bad that I'm making somebody else feel bad for not going out on the run, or for not keeping fit, or for showing off, or for... Yeah, I don't know what you think about that.
Nah, screw that, Neil. Like, you know, it's not about that. Like, it's not about anyone else's feelings necessarily. It's not about, like, Instagram is individual at its heart. It's not a community app. Like, it's about
there's still part of me, like, if I post this,
but it's about you. It's about you sharing your journey. Like, that's it. Like, it's about you. Your Instagram page is about you.
Yeah, okay. No, I quite like that. I quite like that.
If someone doesn't want to consume it, they can block you. Like they can literally get rid of you. So if you don't want them there or they don't want to be there, then they don't have to watch. Like we're all adults here. So if you feel like Neil going for a run is demotivating because I feel bad that I haven't gone for my run, well, if you feel bad about it, you probably should have gone and done it.
No, I think you've
because I think it was something we were talking about something with the team, back in my employed days. I was talking about a team thing and they were like defending the fact that they hadn't done something. And this wasn't, this was their own personal project. And I turned around and I was like, if you feel like you have to defend it, then you probably should have done it. And it's the same thing of if you feel demotivated, the fact that Neil's gone for a run and I should have gone for my run. Well, you probably should have just gone for your run then. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because if that's the case, like if you don't go, oh, that's really cool, Neil's sticking to his target. Well, I didn't do mine, it's fine. But if you turn around and go, I feel really bad because I didn't do mine. Like, well, don't say you're going to do it then.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, fair enough.
I think that gives a good place to end episode number 38, and maybe we can pick up some aspects or more of that from the end of it. I'm so sorry this has been in 2 parts, and hopefully it's made sense. We are continuing with various technical issues and what else do we have to go through? But we're committed. Like we said, Neil, at the end, we're committed to a 7 a.m. upload every Monday and getting these episodes out. So ultimately, I'm here at 9 p.m. about to go and edit the podcast whilst I watch a Game of Thrones and then get this podcast up. And Neil's going to do the cover art because he's such a good loon.
Yes.
All right. Any?
I was about to say what we're calling it, but I think it's Random Dad Chat, number 3.
Yeah, Random Dad Chat. Who cares? Something like that. I don't know.
Done.
But
there's no final words, Gordon.
No final words. Let's just end.
Mic drop.
The hardest episode I think we've had to try and get out, but we're making it happen, and we'll try and catch up with these episodes to make sure they're of the toppest quality going. But either way, thank you so much for the 2.5 listeners who did actually manage to get to the end of this podcast. I appreciate your patience on the technical side of things.
A labour of love.
Oh, it is a bit of a labour of love at the moment, but either way, I hope you have the great rest of your weekend and rest of your week even, actually, because you'll be listening to it on Monday. But yeah, thanks very much. Cheers.
Cheers.